This is week 37, September 14, 2012 of Boats on TV's World on Water, your weekly roundup of all the top news and action from around the world of boating. The Maxi Yacht Rolex Cup 2012 got off to an impressive start with a 29-mile course through the islands of the La Maddalena archipelago for all the 5 competing divisions. The leaders after day 1 are Ran in the Mini Maxi class, who are competing for their annual World Championship, and Velshida and Aegir among the racing and racing cruising division respectively. Magic Carpet 2 led the Wallies, while Nilaya was at the head of the Super Maxi division. Following day 2's adverse weather conditions which prevented racing, the yachts were back doing battle on day 3, and at the conclusion of a long coastal course, Aegir, Nilaya and Magic Carpet 2 retained pole position in the racing, cruising, Super Maxi and Wally divisions respectively, while Sept Europa 2 took control of the racing division. Among the 12-boat Mini Maxi class, Bellamente moved into first place. Ran, when hoisting their mainsail, broke their boom and had to call for their spare before starting. Day 4, and at the conclusion of racing, Bellamente, Magic Carpet 2, Aegir, Velshida and Nilaya led the top spots in their respective groups. Day 5, and things changed as Bellamente's overall lead in the Mini Maxi class was drastically reduced, leaving her on equal points with second-placed Ran. Sept Europa 2 moved to the head of the racing fleet, while Magic Carpet 2, Aegir and Nilaya maintained their hold on their top spots. On the final day, there was no racing due to the lack of wind, so the standing class leaders were confirmed as the winners of the 23rd edition of the event organised by the Yacht Club Costa Smeralda in collaboration with the International Maxi Association and with the support of title sponsor Rolex. Michel Desjoyeaux and the crew of Foncia made the most of the early jump, which they established off the start line in front of Kiel's big Sunday afternoon crowd, and were leading the MOD70 European Tour fleet on the complicated, intense passage up the east coast of Denmark on the first hours of Leg 1 to Dunleary Island. The seemingly ever-consistent group Edmond de Rothschild left in second place, with Jan Guichard's Spindrift Racing taking the 1 bonus point for third. In the first 24 hours from Kiel to Dublin via the English Channel, the fleet covered more than 450 of the 1,238 miles, enjoying sustained bursts of 32 to 34 knots, but then a high-pressure system dropped the winds to 5 to 10 knots. Jan Guichard's Spindrift led for more than 1,000 miles after they passed Michel Desjoyeaux's Foncia in the very early hours of day 2, when they stood further off the northwest Danish coast. Finally, after 1,400 miles, just 77 seconds finally separated the top 3 MOD70 one-design trimarans when the tour leaders broke the finish line in a dying breeze on Dublin Bay. Michel Desjoyeaux's crew of Foncia only seized the lead from Spindrift Racing within the final 15 miles of the finish. But within 50 metres of the finish line in the fickle, patchy breeze, they were slowed to a crawling 2 knots. They only just squeezed across the finish line, 31 seconds ahead of Jan Guichard's Spindrift Racing, which in turn only just held off Sebastian Joss's hard-driving young crew on Group Edmond de Rothschild, who missed out on second by only 46 seconds. On the 4th and final day of the 48th annual Rolex Big Boat series, a majority of the 8 classes competing had bristling showdowns to determine winners, while others held the line to establish early leaders as class victors, including IRCA's Jim Swartz and his team aboard the TP52 Vespa, which also were named the IRC North American Champions for 2012. Vespa also won the St. Francis Perpetual Trophy, one of 6 coveted awards given for best performances in specific classes at this regatta. The winners in all the other divisions were IRCB, Suzel, King 40, Daniel Woolery, IRCC, Double Trouble, J125, Peter Kruger, IRCD, Hawkeye, IMX 38, Frank Morrow, Catamarans, Shadow, ProSail 40 Cat, Peter Stoneberg, HBR Exhibition Class, Double Trouble, J125, Peter Kruger, Donkey Jack, J105, 34.5, Shannon Ryan, Rolf Kaiser, Steve Clear, J120, Desdemona, John Weimer, and Express 37, Blade Runner, Michael Schlenz. The final day's single Bay Tour distance race showed all classes the four corners of San Francisco Bay, sending the 66 teams on courses that incorporated a start near Berkeley Pier to the east, marked roundings near the Golden Gate Bridge to the west, and natural obstacles such as Alcatraz and Treasure Islands, the testing of their navigational skills. Conditions remained the same as they basically had been all regatta long, amazingly free of San Francisco's famous morning marine layer, with sunny skies, temperatures in the low 60s and plenty of breeze going the same direction as a strong flood tide, which meant mostly smooth water sailing. In this week's Fresh to Frightening, we look at the crew on the Californian-registered yacht Expeditious having a bad day. First she broached during a jibe, and then after the crew finally got the spinnaker down and the boat under control, they ran aground. A chase boat arrived, and after much bumping on the bottom and revving motors, they were off again. More than 500 British and international competitors descended on Fawelli Sailing Club late last month to battle it out for the 2012 British Optimus Championship titles. The event came to a close after a week of varied and tricky conditions for sailors and the committee alike. The regatta began with a shaky start, with strong winds and huge sea state postponing any racing. Monday afternoon saw more promising conditions and allowed sailing to get underway, with 2 days of steady racing at 10 to 15 knots. Midweek became a day off for sailors as the conditions were unsafe, but competitors were presented with a window of opportunity on Thursday before the rest of the regatta was unable to get back on the water for the final day. The event concluded with Martin Wrigley of the Cardiff Bay Yacht Club claiming the Volvo Gill Optimus British National Champion title. The top British girl was awarded to Royal Leamington's Jenny Cropley, who also claimed the title earlier in the year at the Volvo Gill Optimist Inland Championships. Current Volvo Gill Optimist Inland Champion Hayden Sewell of the Royal Victoria Yacht Club took the National Regatta Fleet title after showcasing top talent and sailing consistently in all of his 9 races. San Francisco is currently the epicentre of sailing. America's Cup World Series, Rolex Big Boats, the world's fastest boat-setting speed records, and the annual Ronstan Bridge to Bridge race. Award-winning photographer Christophe Favreau of christophefavreau.photoshelter.com sent us this report on how Howard Hamlin and his crew of Mike Martin and Paul Allen flew out of the fog to earn the 18-foot skiff's unprecedented respect by winning on a windy San Francisco Bay. Victory over a flock of kiteboarders and windsurfers, and first for their class in St. Francis Yacht Club's 11th annual Ronstan Bridge to Bridge race. The race, following the skiff's usual windward-leeward contest along the city's beachfront, is a 5.5 nautical mile downwind dash from under the Golden Gate to the Bay Bridge inside the bay. It was sailed in following winds of about 20 knots against a strong ebb tide that made it a rough ride. Hamlin, from Long Beach, California, has come close to winning the race in recent years, only to be edged out by the kiteboarders, who usually handle the windsurfers. But first, Hamlin's boat had to deal with the regatta leaders, the Gotta Love It 7 team of 22-year-olds led by skipper Sebi Jarvan, but it wasn't the young Australians' day. They capsized twice in the first race among 18s before they were forced to drop out with a broken tiller extension. Then, with that repaired, they appeared to be leading Hamlin in the bridge race when they capsized again, eventually finishing 5th among the 18s. Congratulations go to Howie and his crew. Well, that's all for this week. Join us next Friday for our global roundup of everything that's happening and exciting on the world on water. I'm Sarah McAvenna for BoatsOn.tv.